Right, let's get you more detail on the breaking news that we got a short time ago. Parts of a vehicle that those three missing SAPS officers are said to have been travelling in, we understand, have now been found in the Hennops River.
The constables' bodies were retrieved from the same river in Centurion yesterday.
They had been missing since Wednesday last week, and then yesterday was the culmination, a tragic end to the search that had lasted about 5 or 6 days. Their families eventually being taken to the scene. Police at this stage saying they are leaving their investigation open in terms of the actual cause of death.
And of course, remember that the three constables, Tembegile, as we have been reporting, these are two females and a male 24-year-old constable Tebekulu Linda and 30-year-old constable Kiamukhetsu Base, as well as 20-year-old constable Bipilo Senoge, who were travelling in that white VW Polo sedan, and they were moving from Bloemfontein, making their way to the deployment in Limpopo.
The case has raised multiple questions. Among them has been the question about why a search for 3 people initially led to the discovery of 2 other bodies. Now, we're told the other man, one of the other men who were found in the Hennops River yesterday, worked for the police service but was based at the Littleton police station. Now, he's not believed to have been linked to the case of the 3 police officers. But what's also been curious is the discovery of a different vehicle on the banks of the river during the search.
And of course, also questions remaining about the fact that if police are saying that they last saw the vehicle on the cameras at the Brackfontein interchange, what was then happening to the cameras along the stretch of road? What does this mean then, especially for the investigators that are trying to piece together what could have happened here? Then you listen to some of the investigators speaking on this matter, and that would be the lead investigator and this Deputy Police Commissioner, Shadrack Sibiya, saying that one of the cell phones that were being used at the time, the last signal they got was at around Baklu when they were trying to access their banking apps. So then it also raises the questions as to say, when exactly were the phones turned off?
Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, speaking about the Hennops River discovery yesterday, said that now's the time to be sensitive, especially as the families try to make sense of what's going on. He's also addressed a lot of speculation and fake news that had already been circulating even during the search about their whereabouts and the circumstances of their deaths. So as things stand, we're now waiting to hear full details about what's been found, by the way, in terms of these vehicle parts and how much perhaps of a clue that will be for the investigators.
And remember last night when we were, of course, watching those visuals with the families there have been concerns even about, hearing about the grill that was found, some of the parts that were found just by the stretch of road. But Chriselda Lewis is standing by to bring us the very latest. Chriselda?
All right, we're live from the Hennops River, and this is where the search had been continuing for the vehicle that the 3 police officers, you'd recall, whose bodies were retrieved from the Hennops River and subsequently identified as those of the 3 missing police officers. And just a couple of moments ago here on SABC News, we broke the news that we understand from police that there are parts of a vehicle that have been found here in the Hennops River. But what we cannot confirm at this particular stage, police have confirmed to SABC News that parts of a vehicle were found here in the Hennops River. Well, this, as the search had been continuing, you'd recall one of the many questions remained yesterday when the forensics had been scouring this particular area on the other side, in fact, of the Hennops River. They did find some elements of the VW Polo that the 3 police officers had been traveling in. And what we're hearing, or what we heard about 15 to 20 minutes ago, and as you would have seen on our screens here on SABC News, police confirming that parts of a vehicle have been found here in the Hennops River. But what we cannot confirm at this particular stage is if the parts of that vehicle do belong to the vehicle in question. And the vehicle in question, of course, is the vehicle that police had been searching for. This was the vehicle that the 3 police officers had been traveling in. SABC News also understands that the families of the late police officers have been informed about this new development. This is while investigations, of course, will continue into whether those parts are actually the parts of the vehicle in question. You must also remember that police had also found a Renault vehicle on the other side of this river. And relating to the other bodies as well, 2 other bodies that had been found. So I guess police would need to investigate now, or even take a closer look at those parts of the vehicle that have been found now in the Hennops River as to whether they can be linked to that particular vehicle. Remember, this vehicle that the police officers had been traveling in had been the main question that families who visited the scene yesterday, late last night, visited the scene coming to get closure. Well, this was after police, had suspected that the bodies that they had retrieved would be those of the missing police officers. Then the families had been contacted and brought to Pretoria, and that's where they went to go and identify the bodies of their loved ones. Unfortunately, they were met with the devastating news, having confirmed that those were the bodies of the 3 police officers. And subsequent to that, the search has been continuing. You'd recall yesterday there had been a police helicopter that had been hovering the Hennops River, and that helicopter managed to identify one of the bodies that was retrieved. Today, more specialized equipment had been brought in as part of the search. Here behind me, you would see a jock center has been set up here behind me, and the search had continued. A bit earlier on, I did see some of the police divers that had been inside the Hennops River, together with some of the other rescue teams on the other side of where we're broadcasting from at this point. Unfortunately, as the media, we're not able to go much closer to where we're broadcasting from at this stage, because you'd understand that the scene itself might still be sensitive. The search itself is continuing, and would need to give this rescue team, the search and rescue team, space to be able to do its work as they try to collect whatever evidence they can. But breaking news, of course, which we brought to you on SABC News some 20 minutes ago, is that parts of a vehicle, but we cannot say if those are parts of this VW Polo that these 3 police officers were traveling in, whether the parts of the vehicle that were found actually belong to that VW Polo. Yesterday, the families were asking then how far investigations had gone, and what we heard from police, that was live, in fact, on the SABC. The families asking then what could have possibly happened to this vehicle if there'd been some parts of it that had been found at the scene yesterday. And the explanation basically that had been given, and I guess speculation also would have been that due to the heavy rains, that had taken place last week, there could possibly, maybe, been a possibility that the vehicle had been swept, further down the Hennops River. But we certainly cannot confirm any of that at this particular stage. What we can confirm, and police have confirmed, is that parts of a vehicle, we don't know what kind of vehicle, have been found in the Hennops River. We're also expecting senior members of the South African Police Service to make their way to this particular scene. We're expecting perhaps a more detailed update from the South African Police Service about what exactly those parts were, whether they were parts of a bumper, a front or a back bumper of a vehicle, exactly what parts exactly have been found by the search and rescue team that has been scouring this area for hours now, having brought in the specialized equipment. Remember, with the helicopter that had been hovering yesterday and that had identified one of the bodies in this river, that brought in drones today as well. Now, the drones were going to be able to search a wider area and much closer. And the specialized equipment itself, I'm not sure if that might have assisted in the latest discovery now of the parts of this vehicle. But we'll certainly get a much more detailed update for you as the team on Full View a little bit later on. But of course, as you can see on our screen, the breaking news of parts of a vehicle having been found. That's about the details that we have at this particular time. There's been a lot of speculation also. We've been very careful on how we report on this particular story, in particular because, remember, there'd also been a Renault that was found on the scene, as I had indicated. So, let's await official confirmation on exactly what parts those are of that vehicle that these police divers, the search and rescue team, have now found. We'll give you a much detailed update a little bit later on.
Chriselda Lewis reporting from Centurion, by the way, and that's important clarification, that parts of a vehicle have now been found, according to police confirmation. SABC News has not confirmed yet if these are parts of that VW Polo in which the 3 police officers were travelling when they left Bloemfontein last week, headed to Limpopo.
And of course, this was one of the big questions last night, Tembekile, as we watched the family members there being taken to the scene, as some of them were asking, where could the vehicle have been? Where could it have gone? If you were able to find some parts of it, what does it mean? And of course, as Chriselda says there, we were being told, and they were also being told as well, of, the possibility of heavy rains, but the police saying that at this stage they're investigating every possible lead. They simply are leaving no stone unturned because they're trying to resolve this mystery.
I don't know if we've got those graphics, but I think it's worth reminding everyone who we are talking about this evening. These are the 3 police officers, constables, whose bodies were found in the Hennops River from Monday, and then the last 2 bodies were among a total of 4, basically, found yesterday. A total of 3, in fact, discovered yesterday. Their names were Giamakhotu Base, who was 30 years old. In the middle there is Constable Cebokulu Linda, and then the other constable's name was Bipelo Senoche, just 20 years old.
And the police, of course, launching that 24-hour venue operational centre following in fact, the disappearance of these officers. And they were travelling from Bloemfontein to their area of deployment in Limpopo. Police saying that the last sighting on the cameras was at the Brackfontein interchange. They were heading towards the north direction, and then they were not able to locate the vehicle, of course, as we know now, but also they're not able to pick it up on the cameras, and being asked as to what could have happened then where, the cameras are concerned. And the police are saying that it all forms part of their investigations.